Professors in academic institutions with their data-driven insights have played an important role in helping people make sense of politics. But some of this research has also led to debate and subsequently controversies. One such episode happened recently. A research paper titled Democratic Backsliding in the World's Largest Democracy by a faculty member of Ashoka University became the center of a political controversy, with leaders from both Congress and BJP issuing sharp responses to it. The paper, published by Sabyasachi Das, an assistant professor of economics at Ashoka University, has explored the idea of electoral manipulation by the BJP in the 2019 general elections when it won a historic mandate. Ashoka University subsequently released a statement distancing itself from the paper, even as many have called this an attack on academic freedom, while others have pointed to problems in the hypothesis. To make sense of what really happened and how should we look at research of this sort, we have with us Amitabh Tiwari, a well-known political commentator. Thank you very much for speaking to us.
Thank you for having me.
So, Mr. Tiwari, Professor Das has written a really long paper in which he has talked about electoral manipulation happening at local levels. Now, he has said that he has looked at databases of all sorts, microdata, and he's talking about electoral fraud. So, how convinced are you of something like this happening?
See, I don't think the claims are justified by the data sets. I think the research lacks rigor and the conclusions are not very clear, conclusive, correct. So, see, manipulation has a qualitative and well as a quantitative aspect. So, quantitative aspect is deletion of names, bogus voting, etc., etc., etc. Whereas the qualitative aspect is a person of a particular ideology being the election officer in a particular booth. Now, how can this be analyzed or quantified by any data? This cannot be captured by any data or any academic research per se, correct? So, what the research paper talks about is that in some closely contested seats, BJP, through the use of, let's say, state machinery, has been able to win those seats, and these seats he has quantified it on the basis of closely contested seats. Now, what is closely contested seats? That's not defined anywhere, correct? So, normally closely contested seats, a 5% victory margin is considered as a close contest. Now, the professor has used 3%, 5% and 7% margins. Now, to give the audience a background, in each Lok Sabha constituency in 2019, around 11.2 lakh votes were polled. Now, a 5% margin means that the candidate won by 56,000 votes. A 3% margin means that the candidate won by 34,000, and a 7% margin means that the candidate won by 80,000 votes roughly. So, 7% is on the higher side first of all. Normally 3 to 5% is considered as a close contest. Now, he is saying that on the basis of his findings, 9 seats in this 3% close contest bracket and 11 seats in this 5% close contest bracket, the results were manipulated by the use of state machinery, and hence a lot of conclusions are being drawn by political parties and the opposition per se, questioning the legitimacy of the results as well, correct. But that's not a correct point, because he himself mentions and he himself points out that the election commission is not involved in all of these, but it was state level officers who were probably in cahoot with the candidate or allegedly in cahoot with the candidate, etc., manipulated these results. So, this is how he has arrived at a number of 9 to 18 seats which BJP won, he claims, by manipulating the results. To give a clear idea to the audience, the BJP won 303 seats in 2019. So, even if we assume that 18, which is the higher range of his research, 18 seats were manipulated. Even if you remove these 18 seats, the BJP still wins 285, which is still above the majority mark which was required. Okay. So, this narration that the election was close and a closely contested election is perhaps not correct.
So, one of the other findings with regard to this closely contested elections is also that he says that most of these seats were in the states that were ruled by the BJP, and he also says that he basically sort of like, tested it on this premise that if the BJP actually did some kind of superior campaigning in these seats, if there was some sort of like, mobilization of workers, and he says that there is no evidence of that. So that also proves, according to him, the fact that there could have been some electoral manipulation at booth level. What do you have to say about that?
So again, yeah. So there were 98 seats which were won by a victory margin of less than 5%. BJP has won only 43 of these.
Okay.
So that is less than 50% of the closely contested seats have actually been won by the BJP. 19 seats have been won by Congress of these less than 5% margin. So, and BJP has won 43 out of 303. So it's a relatively smaller fraction, whereas Congress won 19 of the 52 seats by margins of less than 5%. That's one. The second is he points out that the BJP has won a disproportionately higher number of seats in the states in which it was in power. Now of these 43 seats, 22 seats BJP won in states where it was in power. In 21 seats, it won where it was not in power. So which means it is a 50-50. It is not a disproportionately higher number. It is 22 in states where it was in power and 21 in states where it was not in power. Now, coming to the aspect of the campaigning or the impact of the campaign. So as we discussed, it's a quantitative as well as a qualitative exercise. Now, any campaign, any electoral result is also impacted by the campaigns, the quality of the campaigns, traditional, social, digital media, the image of the local candidate, the caste alliances, the impact of alliances, the quality of leadership, the motivation of the cadre, etc., etc. There are a lot of qualitative aspects. So what he does is that he takes one question from the NES, the National Election Survey, I think by the CSDS, which asks the respondents about the door-to-door campaigning activities in their constituency. And he says, as you said, that in these 9 to 18 or this closely contested seats, the door-to-door campaigning activities by the BJP was not superior or higher than in any other seat. So this impact of the qualitative aspect of the campaign is not on these seats, and hence the manipulation angle is justified according to him. However, door-to-door campaigning is just one part of the campaign. Traditional campaign, events, rallies by leaders, town halls, the social digital media campaign, interviews, nukkad sabhas, etc., etc. There are a lot of things which happen in a campaign. So to make a premise that the organizational strength or the campaign did not impact these particular seats is also, I think, not fair, because there are many aspects which it is not easy to calculate as per a quantitative or a statistical formula.
Right, sir. So the opposition is looking at it interestingly. So if you see, Congress MP Shashi Tharoor has basically said that the government or the election commission basically they need to come out and sort of have some accountability over this and give answers that have been asked of them. Do you think research papers like this or findings like this or evidence, anything like this actually poses larger questions on the electoral processes of the Indian democracy?
So see, he himself is giving a clean chit to the election commission. See, the electoral process of India or the prowess of election commission is acclaimed worldwide. I mean, we are the largest democracy holding elections across 30 states, 543 seats, 88-90 crore voters. So what is happening is that the opposition is using it as an opportunity and is trying perhaps to create a narrative, 3-4 steps. One is that the election of 2019 itself was close, because I mean people outside the world may not be aware of what the actual results were. And then say that the BJP won some of these closely contested seats through manipulation, and then BJP won the closely contested seats through manipulation in states where it was in power, which we discussed earlier. Now BJP won 224 of the 303 seats with more than 50% vote share. So the election was a one-sided election. It was not a close election at all. That is number one. Number two, we see that Congress itself is also a beneficiary, or rather used its organizational strength and campaigning etc. to win in closely contested seats. In fact, they've won 1/3 of their seats in low margin seats. Now, these issues are not the issues which are going to set the narrative or the agenda for a 2024 election, correct? The issues are price rise, inflation, unemployment, agriculture distress, etc. So by doing this, the opposition of the Congress is also perhaps focusing away from the real issues on the ground, and these are issues like perhaps the Pegasus or the Rafale or the manipulation which probably the common man will not be able to understand. I am very hopeful that the 60-page paper report which the author has written, and it's advanced research anyways, will be understood by most of the people. Correct. So these things are going to take away the focus from local issues, which is a trap for the opposition per se.
Right, sir. And talking about state elections, now Professor Das himself has said that these kind of discontinuities were not observed by him when it came to state assembly data. Tell me, is something like this booth level manipulation possible at state level, and how much of this is quantifiable? I'm asking you this because he has specifically talked about the pliability of state civil services officers. So how much of this kind of sort of like, electoral manipulation could even be quantifiable?
See, some sort of electoral manipulation does happen at the booth level, correct? Like pliability of the officers, if a person is belonging to a particular ideology, etc. But these are small incidents which are not enough to even influence the outcome of one particular seat, leave the state and the nation. So these are some random incidents which take place. Now he himself is saying that the impact of this was not visible on the state election results. But if the charge is that BJP used state election machinery to influence outcome of closely contested seats in Lok Sabha elections, I think it is much easier for the state to use these officers in state elections. Now, if you see the track record of BJP in state elections where it is in power or where it was the incumbent.
Right.
So we have all seen that actually the BJP's track record of retaining states where it is in power is poor compared to the fact where the BJP is in opposition. It has won more states while it is in opposition than it has lost while it is being in power. If you see Rajasthan, MP, Chhattisgarh, Himachal, Karnataka, Jharkhand, you can name a lot of states where BJP has actually lost states. The impact of this, or why was it not able to use the state machinery effectively to manipulate results in state elections, and how is it possible that it is able to do so in a national election is questionable. Yeah.
So my last question to you is, what are the limitations of academic research when it comes to anticipating or even decoding electoral results? Asking you this because most of our political processes tend to be dynamic. So what are the limitations?
So the limitations are that, see, the electoral results of a constituency depend upon many factors, a myriad of factors. A lot of focus of electoral research is on issues, correct? So issues is again a qualitative aspect. What draws a person to a booth? The motivation for what draws a person to the booth is very different. Somebody is voting on issues, or somebody likes the leader, somebody likes the party, somebody likes the ideology, somebody likes the style of campaign. So all these are qualitative aspects. These cannot be measured in any research, correct? And the other aspects, which are the caste alliances, the impact of alliances, impact of the image of the candidate, impact of the image of the leadership itself, manifesto, promises, the vision, what is the credibility of the manifesto or the promises which is promised by most of the political parties. So many factors impact an electoral result, and to capture all these qualitative aspects like organizational strength, motivation of the cadre, etc. is very difficult to be captured in an academic survey.
Thank you, sir. So that was Amitabh Tiwari speaking on the findings of a research paper that alleged BJP's electoral manipulation in polling booths. Mr. Tiwari very clearly said that 2019 was a one-sided election and it would be inaccurate to look at it from the prism of closely contested seats.